All right, welcome everyone to the webinar information session. This session is for the Department of Biochemistry. My name is Angus McQuibbin, and I'm the graduate coordinator for the department. And this is Carrie Harbour. Are you on screen? She is the graduate administrator, so most of the questions and comments that you'll have as you sort of navigate your route to graduate school will be directed towards Carrie Harbour. So I thought I'd just introduce her, and she'll be moderating the session today as well.
Okay.
So thanks, Carrie. So I thought I'd do something just a little bit different from the other departments and start with saying I think U of T is really the place to do research in Canada, and I think if you follow these world rankings, U of T is consistently in the top 20 in the world, and the most recent one that came out, excuse me, placed U of T at about 16. Of course, the criteria for these rankings does alter, but for life science research, I think U of T is the place. So I think you're thinking about the right things coming to U of T. And I think also the Faculty of Medicine does most of the heavy lifting in those sort of world rankings. So again, I think coming to these webinar sessions, finding out about the Faculty of Medicine graduate program is the way to start. So, of course, we all have our little, why this department is better than this and what we do better than the others, but I think the most important thing that you need to consider when you're navigating your path to graduate school is the lab you're going to find yourself in. I think the research lab is actually more important than the department. And of course, there's a lot of crossover between different research labs, and several PIs excuse me, are cross-appointed to different faculty. So again, I'd like to instill in you that I think the most important thing that you need to navigate is which is the right lab you want to find yourself in. So just before I begin, I did my undergrad here at U of T in the biochem, and I was a biochem specialist couple of years ago. And then I also did my master's in the Department of Biochemistry. So I think I have sort of a bit of insight about, how the department is, and I've watched it change over the years. I then went away and did my PhD in Vancouver and a postdoc abroad in England, and then, was fortunate enough to come back and get a faculty position back where I knew I'd be able to do the research that I wanted to do. So, like I said, the most important thing is to find the lab that's going to be the best environment for you. And I think a lot of the departments have different ways to do that. And I just thought I'd step through how I think our department, biochemistry, does that. And before I begin, I just wanted to demonstrate that we do have a newly revamped website that most of your questions and most of the information that you're going to need is on that website. And, I don't really need to navigate through you, but for graduate school, you can pull up a menu, if it works. And you can see we have a list of all the sort of typical questions that you might need to be asked and answered. But I'll go through what I think are the highlights just right now. So I think the way we do it in biochemistry, if you're here at Toronto, is we have a lot of access to academic labs early on. And our faculty really support the ROP 299 program. We have a very active summer student program, and we're the only department that has a third-year independent research module, and of course we have a fourth-year independent research module. So a lot of the students here at U of T sample research environments through all of that process, both summer and these research opportunities that our faculty are very much in support of. Now, speaking of the faculty, we have over 64 faculty in our department, and it's very diverse both in topic and also in location. So just to list off where our faculty are, we have a core in this building, in the Medical Sciences building, but we have faculty in the building attached, the CCBR, in SickKids, a large node at SickKids. We have people at Mount Sinai, St. Mike's, Toronto Western, Sunnybrook, and Mars. So we have nodes all over the different areas of the Discovery District and also out at the different hospital institutes. So when you're thinking about biochemistry, you do want to incorporate that into your decision where physically is the lab that you're thinking of joining. And I think one thing that undergrads get a little bit lost in with biochemistry is what is biochemistry? What does it mean to have a lab in a biochemistry department? With that diversity of labs, it's not just biochemistry. Most people might think of biochemistry as structural biology or the study of proteins. But if you look through the labs, and again, you can do this on the website, if you go through the faculty list, people, you can see we've got a huge list of faculty, and if you scroll over them, you can then pull up what they do. Here's Jason Maines, who's actually an anesthesiologist over at SickKids, but studying how anesthetic compounds impact mitochondrial function. So again, there's lots on the website to navigate that. But if I was going to sort of have some bullet points, I'd say, the labs are all sort of involved in molecular biology, cell biology, bioinformatics, and more physics, chemistry, and computer science enters into the play because of all the sort of big data approaches and all the theoretical aspects of life science that we're going through. Okay, so that's sort of a general introduction to the sort of diversity of the department. Yes, Carrie? Oh. Should I move on to something else? So I'll just briefly tell you what I think is the best route to becoming a biochemistry student and what makes the strongest biochemistry student. And so the application is similar across the departments, but I think the most important aspect is to have a clear research experience and clear relevant research experience. And again, it's hard to nail down what that research experience should be, but it should be in alignment with the labs that you're interested in joining, okay? And the way that works is when you apply, you have a letter of intent that explains your research interests and how it's befitting of the department. Okay, so I can't really define you should do this or that, but as long as it's in alignment with the research interests that are in the department. Okay, now it's important we require 3 letters of reference, and so again, the strongest applicant will have 3 letters of reference from 3 different professors that have seen them in a research environment. And like I said, we in the department have those opportunities for both summer and 3rd and 4th year placements where you can get those 3 different experiences. Most people probably have 1, and then 2nd 2, and then a few will have 3. So 1 is enough as long as it's relevant, but you need 1. If you don't have any relevant research experience, you shouldn't bother applying. And marks are in the sort of A is generally the cutoff. I think officially it's B+, but again, it's a competitive playing field. In terms of the deadlines, you can pull them off the website, but the strongest students apply early. We have an early deadline in the middle of January. We've already gone through those applications and placed several of those students. We have another sort of second unofficial deadline that's about now, where we go through another round of applications. And then we have a final deadline of early June. It varies from year to year. Like I said, the exact dates are on the websites. So the earlier you apply, the more success you're going to have at finding a placement. So how does that placement work? You are invited to the department, again, if you make the early deadline, for a visit to the department, a 2-day visit during reading week. So again, these are the strongest applicants, and they typically get placed early. And so you really want to be in that cohort for next year, obviously. Recruitment is ongoing. We'll have a visit the end of March. Again, this is for the 2nd batch of applications. And it's the same idea. You come, you interview with professors, and you hang out with graduate students to get a feel for the department in the hopes of getting a placement in a lab. And then again, if you apply in the June deadline, then the placement sort of happens during the summer. And I have to admit, most of the intake is early on, but we do place students all the way up to the last week of August. So don't not apply if you think it's not too late. So that's sort of the typical intake. And once you've found a lab to join and started, most students start in September, we have a lot of things at your disposal. We have a biochemistry graduate student union that helps you sort of find your way. And I think another strength of the department in terms of you as a graduate student is because we have such a large undergraduate program, we have more TA-ships available than other departments. And I was just at a meeting the other day. While the stipend is harmonized across the Faculty of Medicine, the real stipend of the average graduate student in biochemistry is about $31,000 because they have all these additional TA-ships and marking programs at their disposal. We also have Research Day, and we're initiating some retreats. The BGSU also has golf and ski days, lots of sort of social events. I think I have a couple of graduate students here that will maybe expand on that. But I also wanted to introduce Nana Lee, who, like me, did her master's in biochemistry, and she's been recruited back, and she has really built up a really great career development program that we host in biochemistry, and I'd like to introduce her, and she can make a few comments about that. And I think you have to navigate away from here. And
Hi, everybody. My name is Nana Lee, and thank you, Angus, for the introduction. As Angus pointed out, Angus and I did our master's together. We were TAs together. So I'm from biochemistry, and I did my PhD here. I did a one-year stint in MIT as a visiting scholar, and then did a 2-year postdoc at University of Michigan, and then spent close to 10 years out in the biotech industry. I was mostly at biotech startups in Toronto and in Michigan, and have international experience in that area. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to transition. I wanted to bring the boardroom into the classroom, because I thought that the one thing that is strongly recommended for graduate students right now is to be market ready. And not many of graduate students get that from their formal training. So in 2012, Dr. Reinhard Reitmeier, who was a former chair, and I started a pilot course on graduate professional development. It was for a credit. And we talked about how to succeed as a professor. How do you do that? What are the secrets? We talked about how to succeed in academia. We talked about how to convert your CV to a resume, how to find the hidden jobs. More importantly, how to gear your own career pathway into the way you want to go. Not what are the jobs out there, but what do you want to do? And how do you want to contribute to the world? And how do you implement that plan? And we get students to start that early, because you can't do that with your diploma in one hand and saying, I like a job right now. So you have to start at least 2 or 3 years prior to graduating, so we stress that. So biochemistry, we're very proud to have hosted the first graduate professional development course within the curriculum at the faculty. This was published in Science Careers in 2013. And biochemistry students are trained with superb science. So that's number one, you have to have great research. And internationally recognized professional development, so that graduates are able to pursue and succeed in careers of their choice. So some careers of recent graduates of GPD biochemistry include life science market analyst, business development associate, biotech scientist, industry biochemical R&D, and health science research analyst. But a good majority of them are still in their degrees, and hopefully they'll find their career pathways as well. So I have here a list of the career options after a graduate degree in biochemistry, and essentially the world is your oyster. I have a list, but your career may not be on this list. So some of these examples I have grouped under business, communications, government, biotech industry, education, nonprofit, and the last one, which is I think is the best one, is a path that you create. So under business, I have management consulting, innovations, market analyst, recruiter, venture capitalist, founder and CEO of the own company, life science business development. Under communications, writing, editing for journals, magazines, writing services. All hospitals have grant writing services, communications offices. Science consultant for the entertainment industry. If you watched any movies, CSI, Grace, all these things, they all have PhDs as their science consultants. You can go on to the law portion of science, becoming a patent officer or a patent attorney or patent agent. You can go into reg affairs, MSL, science med info, science translation. In government, you can go into R&D, grant and research admin, science policy, intelligence analyst, forensics, and biodefense research. You can go off into industry as a pharma field scientist, biotech application scientist, pharma or biotech sales, forensics, cosmetic industry scientist, food supplement industry, medicinal plant R&D, agricultural biochemistry. Or you can go on to education as a professor. as a teaching professor or a research professor. You can be a high school teacher, a head of science. You can be involved in science outreach. You can be involved in graduate professional development. And under nonprofit, we have independent science research foundations, social programs, public global health organizations, environmental policy and research, clinical trial management, food science, clinical biochemistry, clinical genetics, or you could be part of think tanks. So all in all, you are provided with an excellent background of scientific biochemical research in the department, but we also help you, guide you in your career pathway so that you succeed in obtaining the career pathway of your choice and not just by random chaos alone. So we do that. So the course is offered, the graduate professional development course is offered every fall, every winter. There's also a summer workshop, and we talk about everything and anything you need to have all the skills to be market ready. So I think we're going to call on some students that have been through my GPD course. They were in the pilot course in 2012, and they're going to come and talk about the experience. Tina and David?
Great, thanks Nana for the introduction. My name's Tina and this is
Hi,
Dave.
I'm Dave.
We're both from Grant Brown's lab in the Donna Lacey CBR building. We're both PhD students. I'm actually in my final year, and I guess I'll speak first and then Dave will talk to you guys about the course after me. So we both were part of the pilot course, as Nana mentioned. So I would have been in my 4th year of my PhD. And so it was really critical for me to start thinking about what I wanted to do with my PhD once I was finished. So I sort of have 2 points I want to touch on why I think it's really important for all graduate students to take this course. First of all, as Nana just showed you, there are many options for what you can do after your graduate work. And it's important to get information about these jobs so that you can make an informed choice on what you want to do. In addition, while you go throughout your graduate work, you can actually cater your degree so that you can acquire the necessary skills to get the job you want after you're done your PhD. And so by taking this course, not only are you exposed to what these jobs are, but you actually get to meet people who are in these jobs and talk to them and find out what they actually do and determine whether or not you're interested in pursuing those careers. The second reason I think it's important to take the GPD course is that graduate school is not just about doing, research at the bench. There's a lot of other things that are important to develop, and we sort of call these your soft skills. So soft skills include things like your communication skills, both written and oral, things like project management and even time management. And also we talk in the course about managing your work-life balance. So, once you're done graduate school, a lot of people are starting to think about having families and how do you integrate that with your career path. And so all of these things we sort of talk about, and we get tips on how to effectively develop our soft skills. And that's led both Dave and I to sort of seek out opportunities outside of the lab to help us develop our soft skills. So I will conclude with just telling you a bit about my personal path. So I should be wrapping up my PhD in the next year, and I'm actually going to stay in the academic route, and so I'm starting to apply for postdoc positions now. And for me, the GPD course really helped me, make sure that I have a strong CV. I learned how to effectively contact professors to ask if they're looking for postdocs, and to ask what kind of projects they have in their lab. And I also really learned how to market myself. I think it's really important when you're looking for a job to be able to tell them what kind of skills make you the best candidate, and that's also something that we worked on in the GPD course. And finally, I think one of the great assignments that we had to do was to be able to explain our project, our thesis, to a lay person. And so this is really important when you're trying to look for funding. You need to be able to explain what you're doing in the lab to people who maybe don't have a strong science background. And so we wrote a lay abstract, and I've actually used this abstract subsequently for applying for funding and scholarships. So I thought that that was a really great skill to learn. So I'll leave you with just one piece of advice. So I'm a senior PhD student, and I would recommend everybody to take this course if you come to the biochem department. Take it, within as early as possible, like within your first couple of years, if possible, so that you can, get all this information and try to cater your degree towards it. And I'll just wish you all the best of luck with your graduate careers. And I'll hand it over to Dave.
Hi, so my name's Dave, and as Nana and Tina said, I was also in the first year of the GPD program in biochemistry. So I'll just give you a bit of background where I came from. So I did my undergrad at UBC, and I went on to do a master's degree at McGill. And then I kind of took a couple of years off science. I didn't really know if I wanted to continue in graduate school. And so throughout working for a while, not in science, but in something else, I decided I wanted to come back to science. And so I decided to shop around for where was going to be a good place to do a degree. And I had it in my head that I wasn't particularly going to go an academic route. I wanted a PhD, but I didn't really want to go to academia afterwards. And so Toronto and biochemistry department, like the University of Toronto, seemed to be a really good fit if you wanted to take that route, because you're in downtown Toronto, so you've got all business at your fingertips, everything's very accessible, there's lots of collaborations available. And so I decided to come to the University of Toronto and join biochemistry and join Grant Brown's lab. And so luckily, the first year I was here was actually the first year of the GPD program. So as Tina said, I got into it in my first 8 months of being in the University of Toronto, which was really great because it shows you all of the different possibilities that you can do after you're done your PhD and all of the different jobs. So I mean, you might not think like, the list of jobs that Nana has up here, they might not be apparent to you, but if you take this course, you're going to meet people doing lots of these jobs. You're going to get to talk to them one-on-one. You're going to get their contact info. You're going to get their LinkedIn. You're going to learn how to make a good LinkedIn profile. And so you're going to be able to really learn how to network very well. And so I feel like this was one of the big advantages of taking this course very early, is learning these good networking skills and learning how to market yourself as a very successful person and being able to pitch yourself. Because a lot of trying to get a job when you're done is selling yourself to industry or wherever you want to go. And so it's, like I said, this course really opens your eyes and you can see what's out there after you're done. So you get a lot of good opportunities to do networking, which is really important. So great. So even once the course was done, I don't think that's the end of your graduate professional development career. You always are trying to develop yourself a lot more afterwards. And so even after the course was finished, I was still in close contact with Nana and Dr. Reinhardt. And actually, she approached me to come. There was a science policy conference that was happening in Toronto. And I was kind of interested in science policy, basically how policy works. And so we put an application in to run a panel discussion at the science policy conference discussing graduate professional development. And actually Nana approached me and said, would you like to help organize this? And I said, yes, of course, sure. And so we ended up organizing a panel discussion for this policy conference, which I learned a lot doing that. I learned lots of organizational skills, like how dealing with multiple people, trying to set up stuff for a conference, which was really important. And really good skills to learn. So I feel like even after the course was over, the development kept going, and I forged a lot of really good connections with Nana and with many other people in industry in Toronto. And so I feel like that really has helped start a very good career path for me. And so I wouldn't even say I know what I want to do for a career right now. So it's really important, I think, to always make a lot of connections and keep those connections going, and always kind of make sure that you have all the doors open, because you don't want to close any doors. So again, University of Toronto biochemistry and this GPD program are really good for that as well, because it really opens up all the avenues out there available for you. So even since this, then I've now joined the BGSU, so I'm starting to do some graduate student union work. We're organizing lots of cool events in the BGSU. And so at this point, I still would say I don't know what I want to do as a career path, but at least I'm prepared to kind of take any route that I can take. And well, I know the options and I know what's open, and no doors have been closed. So it's been a really great experience so far.
Great.
So,
Okay.
thanks.
All right. So I think, as I said, I was a member of this department, both undergrad and grad, a few years back, but I've invited a new biochemistry graduate student, Marios, to come up and maybe share a more recent perspective. He as well came through the undergraduate program and has now joined the department, so maybe he could tell us a few things of how he sort of navigated the decisions along his way. So introduce Marios.
Thank you, Dr. McQuiben. Hi, my name is Marios Meidani, and I've been in the biochemistry graduate department for the past 6 to 7 months or so. The way I see it, there's really two decisions that you have to make as an incoming graduate student. One is what you really want to work on, what is your interest, and in many ways that'll define which labs you can go into. And I think Dr. McQuiben already touched upon this, that U of T itself is great, and regardless of which department you're choosing, we hope that you choose that department because of your interests, number one, and number two, because of the lab work that you're going to be doing. But in addition, I think the second most important point to look into is the general atmosphere of the department. And this is where I can, I guess, announce my opinion for biochemistry. I think biochemistry has been extremely helpful. All the professors are, or at least all the professors allow you to ask them questions freely, and you never have a sense or a feeling of incompetence when you ask a question that may perhaps be a little stupid, for lack of a better word. And I think in that sense, if you're ever having to decide between two departments because they both have a professor that you're interested in, I would pick biochemistry simply because I know that the interaction between myself and the professors, as well as the interaction between myself and other graduate students, will be absolutely amazing. Right. That's all I had to say, actually. Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, I could just summarize some of the things we've discussed, but I think it's important that you need to get as much information as possible as you try to navigate this. And I mean, to tell you the truth, most students apply to multiple departments in the Faculty of Medicine here, and you know, the best ones get accepted to, you know, the 2 or 3 departments they've applied to, and then their decision-making process, you know, they have to embark on that. And this is sort of the time that it's all going down, but like I said, I'll reiterate, you know, all of the departments still have their deadlines, their later deadlines available, so if it's not too late to apply to biochemistry or the other departments in the Faculty of Medicine. So I mean, I have a sort of a few sort of questions and comments that have come through historically the last few years in the department, but is there anything on the webinar that needs to be addressed? Or how about in the audience, any issues that you'd like to bring up or address? No, thank you. Okay, so you know, like I said, I think I can just summarize in saying the finding, and back up what Mario said, finding the right lab is the most important thing, and it's a very big decision. The way you navigate through once you're in your lab, most of the departments are very similar, and we all have similar course requirements, and you're taken care of. But I think that initial decision is most important, and I always insist that that students that I'm interviewing and recruiting, you need to talk to the graduate students, go to lunch with the graduate students, and really make an informed decision. And so I will leave it at that, and I hope you the best, and you know, send in your applications to the Department of Biochemistry. All right, thank you.